Okay, hello again. Welcome to the ITSM Brief with Manuel Lloyd. I am your host, Manuel Debbie Lloyd, founder and CEO of Manuel Debbie Lloyd Consulting. We are an IT service management or ITSM firm specializing in IT strategy, design, transition, operations, and continuous improvement for medical practices. So today we're going to talk about something that is out of control but may not be a problem. There's going to be some investigation on your part that you need to do with your IT department or your IT firm or person. But I want to give you a little insight on what I think about this issue and how you can protect your medical practice and your patient data, number one. So let's get right into it. We're talking about shadow IT and how your patient's data is silently being leaked online. So what you see here on this screen, and I just put it up there, is a bunch of applications I've run into that the IT department, the IT firm, or the IT person did not know that providers, the doctors and clinicians were using applications that were outside of their EHR. And these applications are outside of their EHR because they provide they're valuable resources to medical providers. Clinicians want to do what they do best, which is see patients and treat patients. And if your EHR system doesn't have this, or your senior level management has decided that they can't afford it, then anyone with a credit card and a phone and internet can get these applications, and they're using them right on your network, and possibly, I'm not saying that they do, but possibly use patient data without knowing that they might be doing something wrong, because they think, well, it's private, right? Because it's on my phone or my tablet or whatever the case may be. That's not the case. This is a growing trend that's creeping into industries of all sizes and types. Shadow IT, shadow information technology. This is IT that a lot of people go around the IT department because they figure, listen, I don't have time to wait. I have to get my job done. And that's one of the fastest ways to get into a lot of trouble, legal issues, regulatory fines, and things of that nature. Shadow IT are unauthorized, quote unquote, cloud apps, phone apps. Employees are using and downloading to perform work-related activities, but with company data. In your case, as a medical provider or a medical practice, we're talking about EPHI or PII, and this can be devastating. Excuse me. You also have like file sharing services like Dropbox or Zoomerang, which is a survey tool, and people are putting data in there, not realizing that this is a violation of HIPAA. I mean, this list goes on, but I want to focus specifically on the healthcare industry apps that I've run into. So what's the problem, right? So what's the big deal? Well, if you have to ask that question, you need to go re-educate yourself in HIPAA. But I'm going to try to give you a little insight. For starters, if you are in the medical industry and you're listening to this, or even the financial services industry, you're almost guaranteed to be flagrantly violating data privacy laws, or at least flirting with them. And if you're audited, you could end up facing big fines, not to mention the legal fees and the lawsuits and the bad PR. Bad PR is something that reputation management is something that I personally see becoming a much bigger industry than it is now, because it's a he said, she said world, right? I mean, look at our elections that just recently happened. Whatever candidate you voted for, that's up to you. But there was a lot of finger pointing and he said, she said. Horrible. This was one of the most horrible elections I've ever seen. I'm only 50, but just all the candidates just got into, the finger pointing. He said, I've seen bad finger pointing, but this was ridiculous. This was ridiculous. This was almost bordering on some type of a civil war. I wouldn't be surprised that if we look back on history, what they say about it. But anyway, I don't want to get into politics. So, but my point is that reputation can be damaged by simply saying, not paying attention or having that CLO, right? That CLO syndrome, Chief Laissez-Faire Officer. And, well, they're getting money in. They're making revenues. Our revenue cycles are doing well. Well, that won't last for long. I mean, secondly, the barrier to entry is low for these applications. Anyone with a browser and a credit card can purchase these daggum things and enroll themselves into apps that integrate with your medical practices, critical applications such as your EHR, your PAC system, anything that's out there that's got patient data, and store this data out there. Now they'll say, well, this is secure. It probably is secure in their location. Problem is that organization didn't sign a BAA with the covered entity. And I recently saw in the news, I think it was in Minnesota, where a medical practice was fined over $400,000. Yes, over $400,000. Wait for it, drum roll, please. For not having a BAA in place. One, maybe a few pages, simple document, a business associate agreement, and they got fined over $400,000. Stuff is serious, folks. So you have to be able to. Now, if you don't have an IT department, there's IT firms in your area, wherever you're located, that can help you with this. You don't want some guy who's, I'll just do it on the side. You want a professional expert to come in and help you with this kind of thing. So it's a serious matter, and it can harm you, your medical practice. It can harm even that doctor or that clinician that is using the app to try to. And guess what? They're not trying to do anything malicious. These doctors and these PAs, these clinicians, and even some executives and administrative staff, they're not trying to do this to be malicious. They're just trying to get the doggone job done. And sometimes people can be jerks and make it really, really difficult. So if you have an IT department, well, we can't use that. And they won't give you an answer of what you can do. So guess what? There's Shadow IT. Shadow IT says yes to everything, just about what a person wants to do. Of course, though not all cloud apps are bad, and I'm not saying the ones listed here are bad. I'm just telling you the ones I've run into that IT people and executives did not even know the clinicians were using. But you as the medical manager or the CIO or the CEO even listening to this, and you the IT person or the company or the firm or the department need to be at least aware of these applications to determine if they're a threat to security or violation of HIPAA privacy. And just simply keep your confidential information, confidential. HIPAA data has to be confidential. There's 3 requirements, about the data: confidential, the integrity, and the accessibility. Well, you only want the accessibility to those who are authorized to access it. And anyway, I can talk more of that. Your IT company or your department or your person should be constantly monitoring your network for new and unknown software devices. Now, I'm going to throw a commercial in here just because I can. But our tool, the My Virtual CIO tool, does that. It monitors your entire network, everything with an IP device, new devices that have been taken off, removed, what they're doing, the whole 9 yards. And I'm not the only one that has something like that. There's plenty of IT companies that have remote monitoring and management tools to help you with this. But you want to make sure you have something in place that's doing this, constantly monitoring your network for new and unknown software or devices, because people can bring on rogue devices on your network and steal data. You just can't be too careful these days. I mean, this can and should be incorporated into routine vulnerability testing, any kind of penetration testing, any IT security testing you're doing. I mean, if you're not sure this is being done, find out. Ask your IT person, ask your IT department, ask your IT consulting firm. You know, the founder of Intel, Andy Grove, once said, "Only the paranoid survive." And what's the other saying? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. Well, you're listening to one paranoid guy right now. I mean, I worked for President Ronald Reagan up at Camp David as a U.S. Marine when I was 18 or 19. I can't remember what it was. And I got some training from FBI, Secret Service, CIA, you name it. And it wasn't just shooting. A lot of data, confidential data, protection, and things of that nature. And one thing I learned to be is paranoid. And if you don't have a paranoid CIO like me, I'm a paranoid CIO. I'm a virtual CIO for many healthcare organizations who don't have one, or IT manager, or a department head, or an IT consultant. Get another one. You want to pay them to be paranoid for you, so you can focus on taking care of patients. I mean, once you know what applications are being used, you can set up like your company firewall or your unified threat management system to block applications you don't want employees to access with patient, provider, payer, or personnel data or devices, and allow the ones that that are company approved. Because again, the apps that are here listed are just the ones I've run into, of most recent, as a matter of fact. So I'm not saying these apps are bad. What I am saying is, do you even know if they're being used? How often do you query your providers and say, hey, do you guys use any applications outside of what we have already, and why? Don't make it a threatening thing, because they probably won't tell you. Just take a little research and look at these applications and make sure that they're legit, as far as not putting you or your business or your practice in harm's way, or your patient data, number one, in harm's way. And then you can have a white list of applications and a black list of applications. Also, you want to make sure that you catalog these sites somewhere, and your help desk tool or your CRM, or just even in a notepad or a Word document, catalog by user with the login information for that particular person. If an employee leaves your practice or they're fired, they may remember what username and passwords are to those applications, and then use them to harm you or your medical practice, or steal the data and sell it. You may say, Susie wouldn't do that. You don't know Susie. You don't know Susie that well. You fire somebody. When you mess with people's money, then you're messing with their soul, in most cases. And people react negatively when you do something to them that they feel like was not fair or right. And the most vulnerable industry right now to me is healthcare. You're so vulnerable. You depend on employees that, I've seen turnover rates at medical practices more than a fast food restaurant. And those same people that have gone in and out of there, I've seen people walk away. I've seen providers just turn in their badge and leave the building. No explanation. Just give me my check, I'm gone. Because they were disgruntled or upset about something. Now, doctors, they'll put themselves in a bad position if they do something like that. But the common, staff, what do they have to lose? You're not going to find out anyway, right? be careful. Be careful. And make sure shadow IT doesn't hurt you. There may be some good applications out there, but it doesn't matter how good they are. If they're not authorized by a team of business and technical people that can determine whether or not, and even lawyers, to determine whether or not this application or these applications are a harm to your medical practice. So that's Shadow IT, and this has been your ITSM Brief. My name is Manuel Lloyd, founder and CEO of Manuel W. Lloyd Consulting. We're an IT services service management firm. We help medical practices with IT strategy, design, transition, operation, and continual improvement. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys on the next show.